Before the arenas, before the awards.
This is b4Nashville Live. Have a question for our guest?
Send it to us via Messenger.
Here's your host, George Davis.
And welcome to Before Nashville, where we introduce the country stars of tomorrow to the country fans of today. Tonight, this is our Halloween edition, so I hope everybody kicks back and enjoys it. I know you've just gotten back from being out with the kids and enjoying some Halloween fare, and we definitely want to kind of make your night a little bit better. So we're going to do it with a young lady. She is from Canada. She is a four-time CMA Ontario nominee. She's gotten praise from The Boot, also Complete Country and Top Country. And she has been on Spotify's New Music Nashville, Women in Country, Live Country, Best Country Songs of 2021, and Amazon Music's Breakthrough Country and Fresh Country. And we're going to talk to her about her music and more coming up in just 30 seconds.
Before Nashville is proudly sponsored by Go-Go Tuners, the go-to tuner for professional and amateur musicians. Get your Go-Go Tuner at gogotuners.com. By Heart to Heart Coffee, the coffee that gives back. Find out more at heart2heartcoffee.com. By Sibby's Apparel, worn by heroes, made with respect. Order yours at sibby'sapparel.com. And by Three Rangers Whiskey, not for the weak or faint-hearted. ThreeRangers.com.
So we told you about the accolades of our guest tonight, and we're going to talk to her and find out a little bit more about her music, her life, and where things are heading to. It's Nicole Rayy. Nicole, welcome to Before Nashville.
Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, great to have you on tonight. Really appreciate you coming on because, you know, I tend to troll like TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that. And no better place to find great artists than on those right now.
Absolutely.
And I happened to run across you on TikTok, and then I switched over to Instagram, started following you, and sent you a message, and we were able to get you on because you got a song that was it a week ago Friday that you released it?
A couple weeks ago Friday now, but it seems like a week ago.
But it's the perfect song for tonight, and so we're going to play that for you here in just a little bit after we get done talking to Nicole and finding out more about her. So tell me about Nicole growing up.
Oh my goodness. I was a very musical kid. My mom always kind of makes jokes that apparently I used to try to make up songs as a baby before I was even really talking. So I guess the music has always been in me. But yeah, I loved music in school. I was always kind of that like dorky kid and all the musicals and the choir and doing voice lessons and piano outside of school. So it was in me from the start.
Right. So when did you really get serious? I mean, like, let's start with the songwriting. Do you remember the first song you ever wrote?
Sure do. Well, the first one I ever wrote and completed, there are a lot of unfinished tunes. You know, back in the day, I would just kind of jot down some lyrics in a notebook or whatever. A lot of it started out as poetry, but the first song I ever completed was a tune called Only Everything. And it never actually made it out into the world, but it is actually the name of my first EP that I ever put out because I wanted to name the project after the first song I had ever written.
Okay. So so you said it hadn't really made it out into the world. That's not something you put up on your Spotify playlist or anything then.
No. It's buried in, the iTunes in my computer somewhere for probably nobody to ever hear.
Is it one of those that, I mean, how old were you when you wrote that and when you did that EP?
So I was about 14 or 15 when I wrote that first track, that Only Everything. And, classic heartbreak going through, a breakup at that age where you kind of think it's the end of the world and it's all dramatic and such. And so that was when I wrote that. And then, so slowly through high school, I was doing more writing. And then it was after high school when I went off to university for a year but then I decided to drop out to pursue music was when I put out my first EP. And that was when I got, more serious about it as an actual career.
Right. Have you ever gone back to any of those songs off of that EP and thought, I could probably tweak that a little bit and put it out and it wouldn't be a bad song?
Absolutely. Only do I ever perform one song from that first record still, and a lot of the tunes are still good when I go back and listen. But there's definitely songs from that EP and just songs that I kind of wrote during that era that they've got something to them, but they would definitely need a little reworking to be up to the standards of music that I'm putting out today.
Right. So I mean, you write your own music and then you go back and you record it and sing it and all. But as a writer, who are your top four? We're going to do a little Mount Rushmore type thing here. Your top four writing influences that you follow.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, I hate to sound like every girl and be cliche, but I have to say Taylor Swift. I mean, I think a lot of us, back in the day, that was our writing inspiration. She's like the writing goddess to a lot of us, and she still is. I mean, I just was listening to her new record, and she's just so clever, and there are so many lines in a Taylor Swift song that are so personal, but yet somehow we find ourselves relating to them. And I think for me, that's like what you really want out of writing a good tune. So she's definitely high on the list for a writing influence. I love females in country, so I'm drawn to a lot of female writers and performers. I mean, the Queen, Shania Twain, who isn't inspired by her music? And I mean, there's a lot of amazing younger artists today as well that I love. Maren Morris is great as well. She's one of the top ladies that I look to, and her albums are ones that I listen to on repeat over and over again to really analyze the lyrics as well as the music.
Right. So with those ladies, let's stick to the lady um, genre for a second, the females in country music. What is one song that a female singer has done that you just think to yourself, damn, why did I not write that song?
Man, I feel like a woman. I mean, come on. I mean, and you know what? There's like more lately, but not as much during that time did I find that there were anthemic songs for women about being a woman. And so I obviously have tried to write some of those tunes going forward. I have an album called All Woman and a tune called All Woman, which obviously focuses on the same message. But that one is like the first one. And I think so many of us listen to that. And it's not overcomplicated either. It's a pretty simple song, but listening to that, it's always like, damn it, why didn't I think of that first?
Exactly. Exactly. And if you had to pick, like, sticking with that whole Mount Rushmore thing, if you had to pick your top four artists that you just like as artists, not necessarily songwriters, but as singers and artists, and they may be repetitive of what you just said, and that's fine. But who are the top four artists that you really are just jamming on right now?
Well, definitely would include the ladies that I've already mentioned. As I said, I was just recently listening to the new Taylor Swift album. But I like to branch out in terms of what I listen to. I mean, I grew up listening to pretty much everything under the sun. So I'm always kind of like country, pop, rock. Then all of a sudden I'm listening to rap. I'm all over the place. I'm obsessed with Kelly Clarkson. I've loved her ever since watching her. She was like the first American Idol, and I mean, what an amazing voice she has. She's somebody that I've studied vocally growing up, so I'm always listening to some Kelly Clarkson. And Linkin Park was actually one of my favorite bands growing up, and I tend to still listen to a lot of their old albums as well because just some of those lyrics and the performance as well is amazing from them. But of course, I'm always listening to a lot of Canadian country as well. I have just so many dear friends and emerging artists that are coming up right now that I just adore and love listening to. One of my ultimate favorites is my friend Mackenzie Lee Meyer. If anyone listening has not checked her out before, I recommend it. Just go right after this, just go listen to some of her tunes and check her out.
All right. Well, and she's one I haven't heard of yet, so I'll have to make sure to write that down so that
There you
I'll
go.
go check her out.
Add her
And
to your list.
exactly. Now, do you prefer to write by yourself, or are you more of a co-writing type of person?
So when I first started out, it was very personal. I would always write by myself. I didn't have the experience of writing with other people, so it was always just a me thing. But now that I have discovered the world of co-writing, there is no other way of writing for me. It's just, two brains is always better than one. And so why wouldn't you pull out inspiration and learn from the tools from other artists and writers. So I absolutely love co-writing now and kind of just like, pulling things out of other people's brains as well.
Right. And the inspiration for your music, where do you find a lot of that?
For me, it's always about my personal life. I mean, for the most part, I actually have a hard time writing from a completely outside perspective. I know a lot of artists over the years have obviously told stories that aren't their own, sort of writing from a third party perspective, but I find that so hard because it's like if I've never been through it, I feel I don't really have a say in the matter.
Mhm.
I don't know exactly what that person would have said or how they would have been feeling. So for me, it's always personal to what I'm going through in my own life.
Right. And with the inspiration, when do you find yourself being more inspired to write or more creative? What time of day do these things usually come to you better?
At night, which is sometimes hard. I mean, a lot of writers too like to write at night because I think we're, creative people are night owls a lot of the time. But sometimes it'll be like 2 in the morning and I'm walking my dog, and all of a sudden I think of some lyrics and I have to run home and write them all down before I forget. Or, I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like singing some tune into my phone so that I remember it the next day. But definitely the night is when I am more creative.
And I mean, and that seems to be a lot of folks because I guess there's not so much going on at night. You're not as bogged down with the daily life.
Absolutely, right? Yeah, during the day we're all go go go, our empty the dishwasher, do the laundry, the things we got to get done. But at night we're a little more calm and can get those creative juices flowing.
Right. What do you feel like is the most unique thing about your music that draws people to listen?
Well, I hope because I can't say what people are getting out of it for them, but I hope it's the fact that it's honest and that people can see themselves in the music. I mean, for me growing up, that was what I loved about music. You would listen to a song and somebody's talking about their own experience, but you would hear your own experience in it while you were listening, and you felt like you weren't alone going through something. It was like, oh, this guy is singing about me. He knows exactly what I'm going through right now. And so for me, that's always been the number one priority with my music. I want to be as honest as possible about my experiences and what I'm going through so that other people can see themselves in it while they're listening and hopefully feel that same comfort that I felt listening to music.
Right. Now let's kind of move on to talking about your experience in and around the different Canadian music scene, because it's I quite honestly I listen to Canadian country on Sirius XM quite often,
Woohoo!
and love picking up those artists, and there's some great ones on there. But if where are some of the places that you've played that have been kind of the top ones that you really like to play in?
So for me, the number one has always been a venue called the Moonshine Cafe. It's just like a tiny little place. It's kind of like you're hanging out in like, your aunt's living room or something playing music. It's in Oakville, Ontario, which is where I actually grew up. I don't live there now, but so it's special to me because I kind of grew up in that venue. I started
Mhm.
playing there when I was 17, 18 years old. Still do have open mic nights, and I would go to that and just sort of get practice on the stage. And now I host my own songwriting night there once a month. So it just has always felt like home for me. I mean, it's not like the biggest stage with the biggest audience, but it's just such a warm place for playing music and for introducing the audience to new music as well.
Right. Now, you mentioned the songwriting nights that you host there, and for the listeners and the watchers who may not understand, give us a little uh, just a little composite shot of what a songwriter's night is and what it consists of.
So a songwriters round is basically a couple artists sitting on the stage together and we sing in a round. So it's like one person starts and we kind of go down the line. And it's all about digging into the artistry of the music and the songs and the lyrics. So a lot of times during songwriters rounds, we talk about the meaning behind the song, the lyrics, tell a little story before we get into the performance.
Right. So kind of the backstory of where the song came about and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, normally you said you do these once a month. Now, typically, because the writers rounds I've been to, I mean, like 4 or 5 artists, and you just kind of, like you said, you go down the line and they'll each do a song that they've written, and then it'll kind of go back again. And they're generally, I don't know, hour or so, something like that.
Yeah, typically. So for my songwriters round, it's to bring more awareness to females in country music. So it's all about supporting female artists. So typically, I have 4 artists on the lineup and I host it in 2 rounds. So the first round will be me sitting on stage with the first 2 artists. And we, like you said, kind of go in that round and talk about the music and sing for about an hour. And then I have a second round after that.
Now, have you had some, because a lot of these, I mean, they may be artists that are trying to be introduced to the audience, but at some point they've gone beyond that. I've got one particular Canadian artist, actually a couple in mind, but one in particular that I'm curious if you've had her on, and that's Megan Patrick.
I have not have Megan on the show. I would love to. So the show, I only started it about 2 years ago now. I actually tried to start it right before COVID, and we got shut down, of course. So I had to take the show online, and then it's just recently in the last year, obviously, been able to go back to the venue, which is great. But Megan, of course, is out in Nashville now and not in Canada too much anymore. But hopefully, if she's home in Ontario one of these days, we could get her on the round.
That would be great. I mean, she just got married. She and Mitchell got married this past weekend, I think it was.
They
Uh,
did. I was actually just looking at the pictures. So beautiful.
Yeah, and so and I'm a huge Mitchell Tenpenny fan. Have been since he first came on the scene. I saw him in a showcase before he even got a deal. Matter of fact, I've got his first album here somewhere that's autographed. Even so, that's I'm kind of like, okay, look at me. you know, but I've always liked his music. And then I was just getting into Megan whenever they started, when I found out that they were dating and he proposed. So I thought that was kind of cool. And so it's kind of great. Now, if you were to go on tour with um, 2 bands, okay,
Ooh.
you're a support act for 2 bands. What 2 bands would you love, or they can be, not necessarily a band, but an artist. Who would that be?
Well, I feel like, I mean, how big are we going? Am I shooting for the moon here? Like, can I go on tour with Taylor Swift? Because
You
I
go as
would pick
big as you
that.
want to go.
Well, I would love to go on tour with Taylor, but as I was talking about Maren Morris before, I actually think that would be my first choice. I love her music and her performance, but I feel like our style of music would work well together. You know, you always have to
Mhm.
think when you're supporting another artist, like how would your music sound in comparison? Are those fans gonna, like what you're putting out as well? So
Right.
Marin would probably be one of my top choices because I think our fans would be similar. We're of similar sounds, I think. So plus she's just so cool. So it would be really fun to go on and just to, be inspired by her on the stage every night.
Right. Now, if that were to happen, say Marin and well, there's still one other. We didn't get to the second one yet. So
Well, I
who
mean,
else?
I said Taylor, but that's like really shooting for the moon. And I mean, obviously,
Right.
she's a little more pop than country nowadays. So it's like, I don't know how it would go, but I mean, I would still go if she asked. I mean, Taylor, call me up anytime. I'm ready.
So it would be Taylor, Marin, and you all on the same tour.
Let's go.
So, with that being said, what are three essentials that you would have to take out on the road?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So number one is snacks. I am like a huge snack person. Like I need to snack multiple times a day. And if I am really hungry, I get grumpy, which nobody would want on tour. So I feel like snacks would be like the number one priority of everything. But second would be peppermint oil. So I think a lot of singers do this, or maybe if you don't, I'm sharing a hot tip right now. But before I sing, I like to heat up like a boiling cup of water and then I put peppermint oil, like a peppermint essential oil, a couple drops in it, and then you just kind of breathe in the peppermint air before you go sing, and it just opens up your sinuses. It's lovely. If you have a cold, it's a good tip too. But that's needed. Like I need to do that before every show just to like open up the sinuses and prepare. And then
Right.
I would also need to bring, like running shoes or something that I can, weights, something to keep in shape. I like to like work out just like more for my mental health than anything else. I mean, I need it. That's kind of like my therapy, my outlet. So, if I'm on the road again with the snacks and keeping not grumpy, I need the working out to keep not grumpy too. So I got to bring my running shoes and go for a run.
Right. So I'm gonna delve into the personal for just a second. But what is your most embarrassing stage moment?
Oh my gosh. Hmm. You know what? I always find this hard when people ask me like what my most embarrassing moment is or like a stage moment because I'm the type of person that like n- big things somehow don't embarrass me, but I'm embarrassed by like tiny, tiny little things. Like I accidentally used the wrong word when I was talking to somebody, and then I'll be thinking about that for like 3 months as I'm trying to fall asleep at night. I'm like, oh, I'm such an idiot. Like I should have never said that. That's the kind of things that I overthink. So I feel like nothing majorly embarrassing has ever happened to me. I have definitely forgotten the words to my own songs, which
Mhm.
is kind of embarrassing sometimes, but usually I just make them up on the go.
It's your song. You can write a new verse to it if
Right?
you want to.
Exactly, exactly.
So if you could have dinner with an artist, uh, past or present, who? Okay, this is like a two-part question. Who would the artist be, and what would be your first question to them?
Okay, so I have always wanted to have dinner with Johnny Cash, and since we can pick dead or alive, I think I would go
Mhm.
with Johnny Cash. But I don't even know what would be the first question that I would ask. I feel like I would have too many questions. I wouldn't even know where to start, but I would probably just go straight to the music and start picking out songs and be like, "What was the inspiration for this? How did you start writing this? Where did this come from?" and get all the details on all his tunes.
And there is nothing wrong with that because the best inside information you can get, the more inside information you can get on how to better your craft, it's always great.
Right, absolutely, and,
Yeah.
better to learn from, the best of all time, and Johnny Cash is definitely one of the best of all time.
Absolutely. Now, when you're playing out, um, and you're doing a show, a lot of, I mean, it's just a given. I mean, Carrie Underwood even does it. I saw her doing Guns N' Roses. I think it was Paradise City. What is your favorite cover tune to sing during a set?
Oh my gosh, hard to pick because I have lots. I mean, obviously, there's like you said, so many cool cover tunes to pick from, and being someone who loves so many different genres, it's always hard to land on one. But one of my favorites that I've done for a long time in my set is "Sweet Emotion" by Aerosmith. It gets the band going, it gets the crowd going. It's super fun.
So you do it with the whole bass intro and the whole 9 yards?
Absolutely.
Oh, you got to video that. That's one of my favorite Aerosmith songs. You got to video that, put it
I,
up
I
on
got,
YouTube.
I got one somewhere. I'll have to send it to you after this.
That would be great. That would absolutely be great. So if you were approached about one of your songs being used in a movie,
Ooh.
which of your songs would you pitch? I mean, they're not approaching you about a particular one. They're saying, okay, we want one of your songs in the movie. Which one would you like? Which song would you pitch? And what movie would it be? It could be a movie that's already done.
Well, always in the back of my head, I have thought my song All Woman would be cool in some kind of movie or TV show just because of
Mhm.
the message of empowerment. And I think it would be so cool. Like in my head, that's always the one that would be picked if I'm thinking about my catalog. I'm like, oh, I'm just picturing some kind of, I don't even know if it's a movie that's out, but some kind of movie that like a director's making, and it's all about empowerment and the wonderful females. And so I always picture that one in some kind of movie. But if they want a love song instead. I only have one, but I feel like there's a lot of movies out there about, people find love and then like they go separate ways and then they find their way back to each other. That's always kind of the storyline in a lot of love movies. And
Right.
of course, my one love song I have is called Unfinished, which is all about that, like reconnecting with that person. So that one would be good too.
Okay, yeah, I could think of movies on both sides. I mean, you're talking about the woman empowerment and the one movie that popped into my mind just automatically for whatever reason, maybe because my wife was watching it the other night, but The Devil Wears Prada.
Yes. Oh, great movie. Love that movie. And yeah, what a like boss babe attitude in that movie.
Exactly. And the other one I'm still working on, the Unfinished Love thing. My wife's favorite movie, but I don't know that it would go with it so much. Um, but it might is Sweet Home Alabama.
Oh, I love that one. I mean, hey, kind of, right? Because like
Right.
they're together in the beginning and then like they get back together at the end of the movie, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
they were unfinished.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, it was unfinished in several areas because of the divorce and then,
Right?
his business and then her other marriage. I mean, that song could play throughout, to be honest with you.
Perfect. All right. Let's do a remake.
There you go. There you go. And speaking of your music, now this is kind of a first for me because I have not tried this before. But your song that you just released a couple of weeks ago, it's called Graveyard, and this is the perfect song for tonight with it being Halloween. And we're going to do something totally different. Okay. I have done this, but it's not fared very well.
All
And I
right, here
feel
we
like,
go.
yeah, I feel like I've gotten a little bit more adept at using my equipment than what I did in the past. So we're going to check out the song. It's called Graveyard. It's a perfect song for tonight. And we'll do that coming up here in just 30 seconds. So hang on.
b4Nashville is proudly sponsored by Go-Go Tuners, the go-to tuner for professional and amateur musicians. Get your go-go tuner at gogotuners.com. Buy Heart to Heart Coffee, the coffee that gives back. Find out more at heart2heartcoffee.com. Buy Civvy's Apparel, worn by heroes, made with respect. Order yours at civviesapparel.com and buy Three Rangers Whiskey, not for the weak or faint-hearted. ThreeRangers.com.
Trouble, there's one thing you gotta understand. Mama gave me a shovel, taught me to dig deep down. And now all of them skeletons in my closet, I know where to be found. They're buried in the ground. Yeah, I got a graveyard littered with caskets, filled with the bodies of all of my walk away laughing, and no one will know what happened, 'cause I got a graveyard. If you think you're special, let me prove you're wrong. I'll burn you in your baggage and bury the ashes and put it in a country song. Yeah. I'ma dance with the devil, I can make your wishes come true. But I go off like a volcano, I got fire on my hands, so be careful what you do. I'm coming after you. Yeah, I got a graveyard littered with caskets, filled with the bodies of all of my exes. I'll chisel your tombstone, walk away laughing, and no one will know what happened, 'cause I got a graveyard. I got a graveyard. You're just another notch on the leg of my throne, and all your sins will be written on your stone. I got a graveyard littered with caskets, filled with the bodies of all of my exes. I'll chisel your tombstone, walk away laughing, and no one will know what happened, 'cause I got a graveyard. I got a graveyard. I got a graveyard. Yeah, I got a graveyard.
That was Nicole Rayy and Graveyard, and a couple of stutters there. I need to take some stuff off my computer, I think.
I feel
Probably a
that.
bit heavy.
I feel that. My computer's always like, please erase. You have too much.
Right. Exactly. And I've got an external hard drive, but I just haven't got everything moved over yet, and I got to get that done. Tell me about that song, because the first thing that I thought when I heard that, I thought, okay, now this kind of goes back to 90s country, late 2000, early 2000s. The Chicks with Goodbye Earl.
Yes.
A little bit darker, a little bit more to the point, I guess. So what's the backstory of Graveyard?
So this tune was actually written by a couple friends of mine. So Sam Dabbs, Hayden McHugh, and David Madras, all artists and songwriters. And So Sam Jabs is she kind of started this new brand of country called Witch Country. And so when I met her, we immediately bonded over that because I love all things witch, all things spooky. Halloween is my favorite. I mean, it's the best day of the year right now. But
Right.
so they wrote this song in, in that witch country vibe, and they were just none of them were going to record it, so they were pitching it to other artists, I guess. And so David, I had him on my songwriters round because I actually did a all male version of the show last year in November, and all the males had to sing songs that they had written with female writers or artists. So he performed this song on the show, and I immediately fell in love with it. Like during the song, I was just staring at him the whole round, and I was like, as soon as they were like he was done performing, I was like, dibs. I don't know if anyone's recording this, but I would like to go home and do it right now. um, but I just love it. I mean, it's got that spooky, witchy vibe, but also it's just such a well-written song, such a funny breakup tune, like just like you said, kind of like Earl or Before He Cheats, but just, more. I just love that they went there with the lyrics.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great song, and I've listened to it over and over, and it's like when it comes to the line where it says, "I've got a graveyard that's
Littered with
full of
caskets.
littered with caskets. It's full of the bodies of all of my exes." I'm like, that is like America's or the world. I mean, let's stretch it all across. That it is the classic line right there. I mean, that's a poster somewhere.
Yeah, let's get that on t-shirts.
Right, exactly, exactly. You know, uh, I can do marketing. I can draw something up, and it may have to be tweaked by a professional, but I could come up with a T-shirt for you for that one because
I
that
love
that
it.
was great. You know, but it's like when you think about it, every female, I mean, every woman can relate to that, say and I'll just go as low as to say from the age of 14 and up because of all of the boyfriends that they've had along the way, and
Absolutely.
uh, boys from 14 to, well, and again, all the way up. Men sometimes are not nice to the women that they have. And I've always heard you don't want to,
Right.
the saying goes, if mama's not happy. And so it's like, okay, well, let's just put it right out there. And so I love the way it's written. I love the phrasing of the song. The way you sing it is just amazing. And it's like you said, it's just got that witchy, dark Halloween vibe. So it's perfect for tonight.
Right? Isn't it the perfect time to put it out right now for everyone to hear tonight?
Yeah, I mean, and normally songs, and this is something for folks that are watching and listening. Normally, songs are dropped on Fridays. I mean, that's just for whatever reason. That's what they came up with. And so when you put the song out, but if you could have dropped that, if Halloween would have fallen on a Friday this year, that would have been just classic.
I know, and I had thought about putting it out, tonight just to be dramatic and put it out on Halloween, but I love spooky season in its entirety. Like as soon as it's mid-September and things start getting cool in the air, I'm like ready for all things spooky. So I kind of wanted to get it out, sooner just so that I could enjoy it and share it with everyone during all of spooky season and including tonight.
Right, right. So, if you could go back and give your, say, when you were in university, so you're talking 18, 19 years old, somewhere around there. If you could go back and give yourself at that age one piece of advice about your future in the music industry, what would that be?
I think I would say believe in yourself. I mean, it sounds so simple, but getting into this industry, it's so easy to be kind of torn in different directions with what everybody else's opinion is about, what you should do or what you should look like or what you should sound like or the music you should be putting out. And, back in those early days, I was so easily influenced because I feel like I wasn't fully confident in my opinion as an artist or just as a human being. And so I'd get off track by other people saying, "Oh, this is what you should do," or "This is what we want you to look like." And I would be like, "Oh, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do." But, now it's just like, screw that. Like, I'm going to put out the music that I believe in, put out the messages that I believe in, say the things that I want to say. And so, yeah, if I
Right.
could go back, I would tell 18-year-old me to just believe in me and, get to that strength sooner.
Right. And here's something that you talk about believing in yourself. I want to throw this statistic out there. I'm a statistical person, so I do this often. I mentioned this earlier. Um, your song, you've gotten, I don't know what the total is, but your song Feels Like Yesterday has amassed, and this may not be accurate because it's maybe older information, 600,000 streams alone across the streaming platforms. Now, that's not just Spotify or Apple, that's all of them combined. 600,000, over 500,000 streams on one song.
So that's a lot, and I,
Yeah.
never would have even thought about that when I first started. And it's funny how, you know, quickly you can also go the opposite way and be like, "Oh, okay, well now I want a million because I've had half a million." But I just all the time remind myself of things like that, especially compared to just starting. And I had no idea what I was doing, and now to know that many people have listened to my song, that many people care to, put it on and enjoy it during their day is just amazing.
Right. Now, you talked about wanting a million streams. Now, this is not, and this is just my quick math, okay? So bear with me here whenever I do this because I'm not exact by any stretch. But you've got um one, it looks like 1.7 million plus on Spotify.
I I think we're actually over the 2 million mark on Spotify
Mhm.
now with some of the new tunes, which is pretty cool. Like,
Right.
and I have not even done the math on across all the platforms, but I mean, amazing to just say on Spotify, people have listened to my tunes over 2 million times. I mean, what is that? That's insane.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you're right because I look at this now and I'm seeing like you've got 1.9 million between House of Cards and Broken Boys, and then you add in 640,000. So there's that's 2.5 million right there, and then another nearly 400,000.
Oh
So I
my
mean,
god.
you're pushing, you're actually pushing upwards of 3 million
Oh,
now.
look at this. Here, I pulled up this statistic just for you because my Spotify for artists will tell you 2,918,000. That's where we're
Wow,
at.
wow, that is so awesome. And Graveyard in 2 weeks, has amassed 40,000, nearly 39,706 is what I've got on here.
So hopefully that means that one will just push us to that 3 million mark pretty soon.
Right, right, and I mean, you're looking at 39,000, see your monthly listeners, almost 40,000 on that. That is just unbelievable. And I'm not saying anything against you because I think it's the artist and the music, but for an independent artist and I don't know why somebody has not seen that and gone, okay, contract time. you
I'm
know.
too scary, I just know what I'm doing too much. They don't want to deal with me. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, hey, you got to look out for number one, and that's the bottom line, especially when it comes to the labels. And they're probably not one of my biggest fan bases is the labels, to be honest with you. But I tell it like it is. So,
And you know what? I think that's why so many independent artists have just been kind of doing their own thing these days
Mhm.
because there is, a platform for that, and there is a platform to, put out your own music and start your own podcast and do things on your own, which is
Right.
fantastic because it's, not not that a label can't help people or that they don't help people, but a lot of times, they don't always let people tell it how it is, and so we can do it our own way and and say what we want.
Exactly. Right. And who knows how to do it better for you than you?
Right? I mean, it just makes sense.
I mean, like I said, I'm probably not a popular guy down there, or in and around Nashville. But hey, that's all right. They'll get over it. Um, Now, is there a particular band that you feel like, talking about that, Nashville and all the accolades that people get? Is there a band or an artist that you feel like is probably underrated from where they should be?
Oh my gosh, so many artists in Canada, first of all. I just
Mhm.
feel like for some reason, it's like the level of success that Canadian artists get just like sometimes isn't the same as American artists. And,
Right.
sometimes it's got me thinking, oh, is like, is our level of talent not the same? But definitely not. There are so many emerging Canadian country artists that I just love that it's like blows my mind that more people
Mhm.
aren't listening to them or more people don't know them. As I was talking about earlier, my friend Mackenzie Lee Meyer, she's so talented and brilliant. She's one to check out for sure. Also, another friend of mine, Graham Scott Fleming. So him and I actually have a duet together. We wrote and put out last year for Christmas called Tailgate Christmas. But he has been putting out tons of music on his own as well. He's just kind of newer into the country genre. He used to perform on Broadway. He's got an amazing, amazing voice. So he's somebody that's definitely underrated that you should check out if you don't already know.
Okay. And I wrote both of those down just so I have them.
Perfect.
All right. So now we come to a segment in the show that I really enjoy because it kind of it's off the wall questions, but they're fun questions. All right.
Yay.
So here we go. And this is one of those I put a lot of thought and a lot of work and a lot of time into it. So I came up with this little intro for it. Okay.
What the hell? What the hell? The hell? The hell? What the hell? What the hell?
I call this "What the Hell,"
I love it.
and it can be a little
Out there.
hokey at
Yeah.
first. A little intrusive at times.
All right, I'm
Um,
ready.
so the first question is, what is the last thing that you Googled?
The last thing that I Googled, oh gosh, I'd have to look it up because I don't know, but it was probably how to spell something. I am the worst speller of all time. So even when I'm like crafting a text to somebody, I get embarrassed that something's going to be spelt wrong. So then I Google it to make sure it's right.
I get that. I absolutely do because I'm the same way. And I do not like autocorrect.
No, it usually
I've
corrects
had,
it to the way I spelled it wrong the last time.
right, either that or it'll come up with something and people are going, huh?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like that's not what I meant to say. I did not mean to say that. What was your first job?
Ooh, I was a gift wrapper at a toy store. I would wrap like, it was a toy store. People would bring their toys to the station, and then you'd wrap them all pretty for Christmas for them to take home and
Mhm.
put under the tree. So I'm an expert gift wrapper still, like because that was my first job. Now, like in my household, everybody makes me wrap the presents.
Was there any part of that that you didn't like?
uh, Listening to Christmas music all day, every day, the same like 20 songs. Because I love Christmas music, but working like a, 7, 8 hour shift, and then it would just be like the same playlist of music over and over again. It drove me crazy.
You can only hear Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer done so many
Yeah.
times, right?
And then you're just done.
And it doesn't matter who sings it. It's like
No.
All right. A couple of questions now. Again, these are might be one of them's not too intrusive, but it's an age-old debate among
Ooh.
many households, and I'm looking for your answer to this debate. Toilet paper, over or under?
Over.
Okay.
It drives me crazy when it's the other way. I'm like, I feel like I can't get it properly. Like it's easier when it's over.
Right, right. And that's the consensus I'm finding of the people that I've asked.
All right.
Along the same lines, and for some odd reason, I guess I was on a toilet paper kick this particular day. Do you fold or do you crinkle?
I don't know. Now I'm thinking about it way too hard. I feel like just crinkle. I feel like I it's like I'm not, detail oriented enough to fold.
Not that OCD, right?
No, no. Not for that anyway. For cleaning my house, yes, but not for toilet paper.
That is funny. That is funny.
Uh,
Okay, so tell me an unpopular opinion that you
oh,
have.
oh, everyone's gonna hate me.
We don't
Okay.
allow hate here,
I
so
know,
no
but
hate
I feel
messages.
like I always know this is super unpopular, especially as a Canadian. Like, it maybe not
Mhm.
American thing, but I do not like poutine because I don't think gravy belongs on fries, and a lot of people disagree.
I was gonna ask you what it was because I didn't know, but now I
Oh,
know.
yeah, it's a Canadian thing where it's fries with gravy and cheese curds. It's like a thing. And like there's all sorts of like restaurants here that have it or like specialty versions of it. And I
Uh-huh.
just can't get behind it. Like I just don't think gravy goes on French fries.
So let me ask you this because okay, I'm from the South
Okay.
and gravy to us is only one thing, and that's white gravy. Is it
Oh,
white
okay.
gravy or is it brown
No,
gravy?
no, it's like brown. It's like what you'd have on your turkey at Thanksgiving too, which is maybe
Okay.
still Canadian, but but yeah, but
Okay.
you can Google it after this and look up what poutine is. But unfortunately, every Canadian listening is going to be real mad that that was my opinion.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm getting like inundated with messages all of a sudden. I
Oh
don't know
no.
where they're from. But it's like they chime in right into the show. Thank you so much.
Hello, thanks for joining us.
Exactly. Yeah, people coming on. Um, what about a secret hobby, interest, or actually the best way to do this is a secret celebrity crush.
Ooh, secret celebrity crush. Okay. I have a huge crush on, well, I like to call him JGL, but it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Uh-huh.
I think he's super cute. So, I mean,
Okay.
it's not so secret around my household as I'm always telling my fiance that I have a crush on him, but people out there listening probably didn't know. So,
Yeah, right, right. That is awesome though. I love that. Let me
oh, I
see
still hear
here.
them. Hello, people chiming in.
Yeah, it's like everybody's chiming in all at one time. So I don't know it's like, golly. Um, I kind of asked you this one earlier, but because it is Halloween, what are you watching? Is there a particular Halloween movie that you like to watch?
So I love watching horror movies all throughout October. Usually I watch something every single night, and The Shining is my all-time favorite scary movie. But on Halloween, tonight, my tradition every year is I watch all of the Halloween Town movies. They were like on the Disney Channel when I was growing up. So any 90s kids out there would know these movies. There's four of them. They're very corny and
Mhm.
cheesy and bad, but I still love them even though I'm 30 and I watch them every year.
That's awesome. Oh, that is just great. So, tell me, how do folks that have not discovered Nicole Rayy yet, how do they find you?
Well, I'm on all the socials. So you can find me facebook.com/Nicole Ray Music, at Nicole Ray Music on Instagram, at Nicole Ray Music on Twitter, and on TikTok. Make sure, though, spelling counts on the internet. So Ray is spelled Rayy across all the platforms and my website, Nicole Rayy with 2Ys.com.
All right. So make sure you check that out. Music is on all the streaming platforms. Graveyard, the latest one. And even though it's getting up there, I mean, you can do the math and figure out, okay, this song's been out for this long. This is how many streams it's had. You can do the math, but it's going to get up there. I just know it because a lot of people are already listening to it. And I think that's fantastic. And it is a great song. So go check Nicole out. And Nicole, with your permission, I have a playlist of artists that come on the show. And I like to put their song that we play during the show on that playlist on Spotify. So with your permission, I will do that as soon as the show's over.
Absolutely. I'd love to be added to the list.
All right. So we'll put Nicole on there right after the show tonight. And one quick thing I almost forgot because it's Halloween. We have to address that just for a second. So let's go back. I'm going to ask too, what is your favorite Halloween candy?
I'm all about the sour candy. So sour Skittles are my favorite. Every time I get the pack with the Skittles and the Starburst to hand out to the kids, I pretty much keep all the sour Skittles for me.
So my wife and I had this idea, and I thought that this would be a good time to ask. My wife loves Reese's peanut butter cups, but we have a hellhound. It's our dog, our oldest dog. We have two, but she does not like people to come to the front door.
Oh no.
And we have this huge glass window, and if somebody comes up the front door, then she's like she's trying to eat the glass. I mean, she loses her mind.
Oh no.
And so we thought, I told my wife, I said, what we need to do is just go get a big bag of Reese's and turn the porch lights off and just sit in there tonight and eat them.
There you go. Yeah. Just enjoy your own candy.
Right. So is that rude?
I mean, you could also leave a note. Take some.
Right.
Leave some on the front porch. Take a Reese, and we're gonna enjoy the rest inside while we watch TV.
There you go. We're watching The Shining.
There you go.
That's awesome.
I think the dog will appreciate it,
Yeah, we'll have to put that down for next year because I think this year it was just our dog is just, she is, love her to death, but she is a hellhound. So go check out Nicole's music. Nicole, thank you. You've been such a joy to talk to, and I appreciate it. And coming in on Halloween, and quite honestly, I apologize. I didn't take time to dress up. I guess I could say I'm going as a radio DJ,
There you go. Perfect. It works.
But thanks a lot for coming on. I appreciate it. We'll definitely look forward to more of your music and keeping an eye on how the career's going.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me on the show tonight.
You are so welcome. And don't forget, again, check out Nicole. We'll be back on Thursday night with another show. Until then, you guys have a great Halloween. Be safe, most of all.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to follow b4Nashville on all social media and listen wherever you get your podcast. Tune in again for another country star of tomorrow on b4Nashville with George Davis. I'm Kevin Casey on behalf of Worldwide Pants. Have a great night.